Good evening. What's today? Today's the 12th. The 12th of December 2022. Welcome. It's Tuesday, 8:30. It means it's Let's Talk Education Live. Auntie Estella, always the first in the room. Thank you so much. Welcome to those of you in the room. Please tag in your friends, loved ones. This one's going to be aimed at mums. So mums, especially mums with sons, I think they're called boy mums. Today we're going to be talking directly to boy mums. Shout out to boy mums. If you are a mother with a son, you know a mum with a son, tag them in now. This one's going to be quite hard hitting. It might be a bit painful in places. So if you're a boy mum, you know a boy mum friends. So you're a mother with a son. You're gonna want to hear this one today. This is gonna be our last live of the year, of 2024. We go with the school term, so we're gonna be on Christmas break. You know, we can't go all the way through the year. We'll be back with you in 2024. Look how time is flying. We know it's a festive season, so we are going to give a major shout out to our sponsors. I repeat, tagging boy mums into this so you can get them in and send them the message. So, Little Scholars Playgrounds. Remember, with our 15% discount, we've got a range of books as well for young people. Guys, please invest in literature. One of the things that I'm able to tell when we do our assessments in English and maths, I can go back to as far as when a child was 3, 4, 5, 6 and see the level of literacy that was placed in the home. So I can tell if a child was read to from the ages of 3. That's how important reading and literacy in the home is. Parents will say to me when I do this assessments, because they're comprehensive, guys. They are truly worth the money. But when I go on to do these assessments, I can tell. So investing in books and literature, especially books, where the main character is reflective of the person you look like. Look at that, guys. Look at that. Look at Emmanuel. Look at that, guys. Come on. So make sure you head over to Little Scholars Playground and get your festive orders in. Whew. Okay. I'll more than likely do the whole 25, 30 minutes today. And people often ask, where do you get your inspiration from your lives? What are you doing? Give us a heads up. But it's usually inspiration from things that I'll either read or experiences that will happen to me during that week in education. Yeah. So a week in education can be fairly turbulent. Lots and lots of different things happening. This one's going to be quite difficult because it's forced me to reflect as well on myself or my life, as a dad, as a son, and to kind of look at the psyche of our children and specifically our boys. So there'll be time I'll focus on our girls, and you've heard me speak about them. People often say that I favour girl children. I've been accused of that during my teaching career. Oh, you prefer the girls. I think I do have a protective kind of element over our girls. I do. I am biased, if I'm going to be honest. But today's going to be focused on our boys. And it's this phenomenon of puberty. So you may have heard of it, this concept of puberty. And this is something I've observed as a teacher, I've observed as a parent, and as things change with our teens, because we always notice a difference generation to generation. Generation to generation, we notice differences in our children, in behavior, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So, and I'm going to be quite raw with this. I wouldn't be surprised if if we have nobody in the room and I'm talking to myself. And I'm speaking specifically to boy mums. And this is more pertaining to, like myself, having grown up in a single parent home. My dad was very influential, but the main kind of driver behind a lot of things would have been my mum, who's passed away. And I know very often during my childhood, I was I was ridiculously close to my mum. We were born 2 days apart. I am a mummy's boy. Yeah, very, very similar personalities, similar way of seeing the world. And I know to some extent I was her comfort. Yeah, I was mummy's boy. I was cuddly, I was warm, I was loving. That may have counterbalanced things in her relationship at the time. And that's the role that I played. And a lot of boys, when they're young, have that relationship with their mums, where they're almost like these extended teddy bears, for want of a better phrase. These bundles of comfort and joy, where mums put all of their love, care and attention, into these boys. And I can wholeheartedly say I was one of those. So please don't think I'm speaking from a position of maybe looking down or critique. That was my relationship with my mum. Yeah, there were lots of us, but being the baby, I literally was mummy's baby. And you see this very often with relationships with boys and their mums. And in primary school, they're babyfied. These boys are babyfied. I was babyfied. And what I mean by that, I know is it a word? I don't think it's a word. Is the same way in which my mum viewed and saw me at 4, 5, 6, being this kind of cute, lovely bundle of joy who brings her an element of joy and her an element of comfort. She still saw me that at 9, 10, 11, when naturally, in regards to nature, yeah, boys will begin to seek independence. And I think my mum caught on quick because my dad had quite a heavy influence, but I see a lot in education where those boys, those babies, those mummies' little sweethearts, from 10, 11, once they hit puberty, can switch very quickly. And you're now looking at, and I think I spoke about this previously with my own son, you're now looking at that cute little boy who was 10, 11, 12, who is now 14, 15. And oftentimes I'm seeing, and I'm specifically talking about mums' relationships with their sons, and I can comment on it. I'm speaking about it from a community perspective and an educational perspective, where in the coddling and the babyfying of a lot of these boys are not bringing reality of what the world is going to look like. Because there's nobody on earth who treated me in the way that my mum treated me. There's nobody. That was almost like this false world. I'm not saying it was nice to have that safe space, but if I thought that was the reality of the world, it was very harsh. It wasn't real. And what's happening, and I'm seeing it more and more, especially with this generation, that coddling where the boys become the comfort to their mums, we're creating some serious, serious monsters, because by the time those boys turn to 15, 16, 17, there is nothing. When you have a 6 foot, 6'2" mountain of a young man towering over you, but what you see is that cutie pie of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you try to deal with him in the same way. Yeah, you've got two issues. You've got parents who still continue to deal with their boys in the same way and cannot see they do any wrong. These boys who are out doing things, We cannot, what mums can't see for the life of them, these boys can do any wrong. And in that, they're creating monsters. The second thing is where we see mums who see the change, in these boys, and they try to shift, but we've already kind of established this relationship, and it's turning the relationship where now you realize I've got to get harsh. By then it's too late. By then it is too late. And we have created monsters. Like I'm saying specifically, you've created these boys. And when I say monsters, I mean in the kind of cinematic world, when we say monsters, these are figures who are out of control, who cannot be controlled at all. They're out there doing things that we would never imagine, and we're seeing it now. There were certain kind of rules, certain things you never did, like within our community, you would never do, or it would never happen. Yeah, like especially around mums. Mums were completely protected. It wouldn't happen. Whereas, and women, whereas now we're seeing a turn. Man don't business. You're hearing about children in the home who are physically abusing their own mothers. You're hearing about, and it's something seldom, I don't hear these topics spoken about on podcasts and in social media, in the comments and this, that and the other. You are seeing young men who are physically and emotionally abusing their mothers in the home. It is a form of domestic violence where you got youths who are dealing with their mums in a certain way, where because that relationship was formed early on that was dysfunctional, that dysfunction continues once the boy knows. And these boys, not like, there are jokes about it where you know, like where your mum one day, like she may try to chastise you, or you see it, your mum may try to hit you, and you hold her. As a boy, you know, there's a time where when your mum tries to do and say certain things, it ain't working because there's nothing she can do. And as a young man, when you realize that, yeah, and there is no other figure of authority, you're not taking talk from anybody else, it's over. And we're seeing time and time again where we are creating these relationships with our boys. I've seen mothers who will back their boys they don't need any evidence. They're not willing to hear it. But the problem is, whereas there was one generation or maybe a generation before where the mum's willing to back the son and the son will do anything for the mum, that's not the way it is anymore. What we're more seeing now is the mums have this deep love and the boys don't care. They would be willing to sacrifice, their mum for whatever means there is or whatever it is. They're willing to disrespect. They're willing to abuse. This is something I guarantee you, nobody's talking about this. And you won't hear mums talk about it because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. There's a lot of shame behind it. But I'm telling you today, and because I've encountered, I'm seeing it, you have teenage boys who are at home, in the homes with their mothers, who are abusing them because the dysfunction was set in very early on in the relationship between the mum and the son, where the mum was emotionally dependent on that child, on that boy, for whatever needs, unmet needs, or whatever it is that she had. I say to you, those of you who are joining, I know there was an element of that in my relationship with my mum. When I was born, when I was there, I was mummy's baby. I was mummy's boy. I was an element of her comfort. I know that. And whereas kind of traditionally you hear, oh, boys are for their mums and so on and so forth, these youths are different. These boys aren't going to be willing to sacrifice and do everything for their mums. Because there's a greater power at stake now, guys. You're not and I'm saying this to the mums, you're not the be all and end all. There is something that is more influential in a child's life than you. And your child, your baby boys would be willing to sacrifice you for that thing. Would be willing to sacrifice you for what that thing is. And that's a dangerous position to be in. A very, very dangerous position for you to be in. Because once that boy hits puberty and he shoots up and that voice goes deep and those shoulders start to spread, and in a lot of scenarios, it's single mums. It's mums similar to my mum who are single parents, boys from single parent families, and they know, boom, there is nothing my mum can say to me now. I wonder how many mums who are in that position understand the element of danger that they're in. The element of danger, because you're now in a house, or you're now living with a young man where an emotionally dysfunctional relationship has been formed with that boy child. And he is now developed into a physical, not an emotional, he's not emotionally ready, he's not mentally, but a physical man that you cannot chastise, and doesn't have the same emotional connection to you that you feel you have with him. Because there is a higher power to that boy. And when you say, what is that higher power? Boy, you're going to have to work that one out for yourself. Whereas in that child's life, you were the be all and end all. There's things above you. There are elements above you that are stronger pulls for that boy than your voice. And if it means sacrificing you as a mum, yeah, to get whatever it is that they desire, whatever that pull is, you'll be sacrificed. So please, mums, this is gonna, please be aware, because there are mothers who are suffering in silence, who are being abused in their home. I'm telling you, this is a fact. Who are no, not me. And there's this kind of image, this idea. Sorry, I'm going to plug my phone in the chargers. No, not me. I'll do this. I'll do that. Let's get this straight. You can see I'm not exactly the slimmest. I'm fairly robust, yeah? I'm seeing some of these youths now, yeah? Year 11. Year 10, year 11, year 12. Who physically are serious. I have to be aware at 17 stone, there or thereabouts, of what I'm doing. I couldn't imagine being a 5'5", 10.5 stone woman trying to chastise or put boundaries in place for some of these young men. And by the time you're putting these boundaries in place and you're having these, it's too late, because that child, that boy child, has been babyfied. The relationship that was formed where this interdependent, emotionally, I don't know, interdependency that has been formed with this boy child from a young age has become toxic. And you have mothers who, as I speak into the camera, are being abused in their own home, who are at a danger, who their lives are in danger in their own home because of their boy children. I am telling you this as a fact. I see it. I witness it. And what we try and do, and I'm not saying, please don't interpret this wrong. I'm not saying, because a mother's love is extremely powerful and extremely important. Very, very powerful and very, very important. Yeah? Especially with boys who, I kind of leading into what I'm saying, the level of emotional intelligence of our boys is low. And they need it. But it can't be this kind of interdependency where, as a mum, for whatever issues you may have, you're pulling, or your boy child has been used as an element of comfort for you. And that's what happens. And because of that that dynamic and relationship, and that is at play, it can become toxic for both. For the boy and how he goes on to form relationships, and for your relationship with your son. Because what ends up happening, and I'm sorry to have to use this word, we end up creating these monsters. Because very often we talk about, when things happen in our communities, how can these young men be doing these heinous crimes, these horrible things? And I hate the fact that we always look at it as like some abstract, this thing couldn't be happening to me. There are a lot of things that are happening in secret, guys. There are a lot of things that nobody's talking about. You'd have to tell me in the chat, have you ever heard anybody speak about the abuse that's happening in the homes between mothers and their sons? And let me be very specific, very, very, very specific. And this is where it becomes between black boys and their mums. Because that's almost a sacrosanct relationship, that relationship between black boys and their mums. Whenever I speak to black boys about aspirations and so on, a lot of times it comes out of this deep devotion to I want to become a footballer so I can buy my mum a house. But I say, but your mum lives in a house. No, I want to buy her a bigger house. Why do you want to buy your mother a bigger house? Oh, because of this feeling of obligation to your mum, or this deep feeling of it's my job as a son to do this for my mum. I said, but your mum had her own choices in life. Should you not have your own choices in life? That relationship can become extremely toxic. Even that concept of a lot of the boys, and that weight that I must do this for my mum. I have to. It is on my shoulders. Yeah, but you're 14, 15, bro. How can you have... Where's that coming from? That can only be coming from one place. And what happens with a lot of times I speak to these boys, this weight that's not supposed to be on the shoulders of a 14, 15-year-old. As a man, when you're married, when you have children, and you are therefore responsible for your home, for your family, and so on and so forth, that can be on your shoulders, because that's your responsibility. But as a child, that's not your responsibility. And in the mind of a young man, how that can manifest and it can become bastardized is a very, very dangerous thing. And we all know, if you're given responsibility when you're not ready, that responsibility can very quickly turn into resentment. If you're given responsibility, if responsibility is placed on your shoulders when you're not ready, that can turn into resentment, deep resentment. And when you have resentment as a child who doesn't have emotional development, as a boy who isn't emotionally evolved, is dangerous. I want this, whether it's an uncomfortable conversation, but I like having uncomfortable conversations. Yeah, I like to mark things, not as an "I told you so," but almost to myself, as a relief for myself, because I see things. A lot of people see things, but they won't say anything because it's not a comfortable conversation to be having. It doesn't kind of fit into the narrative of what's happening. And I appreciate, this is a slight turn off of the kind of more education talk where we're giving advice and so on and so forth. But in my conversations and in my dealings with young people, especially young men in education, this is a very heavy burden on a lot of our boys. And I'm seeing it become a dangerous, dangerous habit in the relationships that are being formed with parents, specifically mothers and boys, and how these boys are going on to form very disturbing ideas, and how that often isn't beneficial to the mother in the home. And I want to warn many of you how dangerous this is. And it's almost a danger to you, because oftentimes you see this child as your baby. At 40 years old, I know for sure if my mum was still here, I would still be mummy's baby. I would still be mummy's baby. I couldn't imagine her calling me anything else. I am far from mummy's baby. And for her to see me in that light and treat me in that light, especially during that adolescence phase, especially during that 13, 14, is dangerous, because I will repeat the word and I will use the word. We're creating monsters. And when I say the word monsters, I'm not speaking specifically about, it's about what these relationships go on to create and form with our boys. Because there is limited control. There is limited control. It gets to the point where nobody can't tell your son anything. Now, if your son is 6'1", 12.5 stone, that's a super middleweight boxer. That's the dimensions of a super middleweight boxer. And nobody can tell him anything at 14, 15. Then what? What chance is he being given? Because that at home, that's been broken. And a lot of the time, it is the formation of the relationship from well before. But that interdependency, that emotional pushing and pulling that happens. I remember my dad used to speak to me about it, and I didn't understand what he was talking about. I didn't get it. I didn't understand. I used to think my dad, oh, you're just horrible. You're jealous because I'm close to my mum. You know, I prefer my mum, and I get with my mum, and me and my mum are born 2 days apart. So you're trying to break our bond. So I used to believe this. But as I grew older as a man, and I realized there were things that I had to do and operate and so on and so forth, I realized there are elements of this that aren't beneficial. When I'm now seeing it with this new generation of young men, and the relationships and bonds that are formed, the toxic relationships that are formed with the relationships with their mums and them, and we get to the point where these youths ain't dealing with you like how like my generation were. And I'm not sure if many know and understand that you're actually putting yourselves in a very precarious situation. And I'm not sure if we're acknowledging this precarious situation, that we're acknowledging that there are some mothers who are at home with mummy's babies who are being abused by these boys. I'm not sure if we're aware that the decisions that are often made very early on, where, okay, he's this big, or he will very easily become something that is you can't reason with or control. And I get it. I really do get it. When I look back on not only my relationship with my mum, but a lot of like peers who grew up similar to myself in single parent homes, and there was this deep emotional dependency upon the mum, on the child, that kind of then grows and manifests. Listen, there's only one adult in that situation. Yeah, there is only one adult in that situation. So therefore, I'm speaking to that adult. And if you do have boy children, if you do have young boy children, all I'm asking is please, 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 please be very cognizant and aware of the messaging, the relationship, and that interdependency. And there may be some times where that has kind of step away, because that lovely, sweet little boy will not be a lovely, sweet little boy for much longer. And when he develops into a young man, he has to have the emotional maturity and has to be ready. Because if he's not, you're in danger. Because he's going to be living in your yard. And the most thing you can do is probably kick him out, which is the worst thing you can do, because you are no longer in control of that young man, and you're able to reason with him and influence his decisions in the way you were able to when he was a baby. I'm seeing a hell of a lot of it. And I know this was kind of heavy for like a festive one, but I'm just reflecting on the things that I continually see over and over again in our society, and it scares me. Because if I'm in a position where, as I said, fairly robust man who carries himself in a certain way, and I'm seeing mothers being dealt with and treated in a certain way, that's scary, to the point where I don't even want the child to go home with the mum, because it's almost like if they go home, that mum's in some serious problems. But I remember what you were like when you came with that child in year 7. I remember saying we can't do things like that. We must be more cognizant of the words that no, not my son. Now we're in year 10. As opposed to looking down to him to put on his tie, fixing his tie like that. Or if he even allows you to fix his tie. So, I've gone 3 minutes over, guys. I hope this message wasn't too offensive, but it's something that I see and needed to be said. I hope it resonates with you. Remember, guys, I'm in the DMs over Christmas. We'll be doing more of our assessments in the new year. I'm going to open some. There are no more dates in December. We'll open up some dates in January. Happy to have conversations in the DMs. I hope you all get some rest over the festive period. I hope you all. Thank you very much, Renika. Thank you. One round of applause. I hope you all get some rest, get some time to spend with your loved ones. Hope you don't spend too much money. Try not to spend too much money. Thank you. Very important conversation. Thank you. Yes. Try not to spend too much money, guys, because you know January has 50 days. It's the only month with 50 days in it. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you all very much, and have a lovely festive period. And I look forward to seeing you in the new year.